How you do, sir? How are you? I'm doing wonderful. How you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you, Corley. Good afternoon. I'd like to open this Tuesday, February 16th, Sumter City Council meeting this evening. We appreciate everybody joining us. We start all of our meetings with an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Tonight will be led by Councilman Reverend James Blassingame. We start our invocation with a moment of silence for those that pray as they wish. Then Reverend Blassingame will close us. So if we can stand.
God our Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. We love you because you first loved us. We're grateful that you've allowed us to come together, City Council. And we're grateful for this wonderful city. Thank you for our employees and citizens that we serve. Grateful for the mayor and members of council that you would be with us in our deliberations as we seek to find ways to improve the quality of life for all citizens here in our great city. We pray that you will keep us all in your care. Remember those who are less fortunate than we are, the sick, shut in, bereaved. Keep us all in your care. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the
flag
of
of the United States of America
and
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Blassingame. Moving into our agenda, approval of minutes from our February 2nd regular meeting. Got a chance to review them. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Hasty moves and Corley seconds that we approve the minutes. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved as written. Now we'll move into, this is always fun. It's recognizing our 2020 American Legion Post-15 Firefighter and Police Officer of the Year. This is it's encouraging to have the force that we do as far as our firefighters and police officers, but to be able to recognize some that go above and beyond in this past year is a great time. Really shows the type of employees that we have in our city. So if I could call up Chief Ford and Mr. Dupree first as far as our firefighter of the year. You can join us over here. And Chief Ford, if you'll give us say a few words for us.
Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, just thank you tonight for letting us come in front of you to honor the Firefighter and Police Officer of the Year. Terrence is not enough time for me to express all the benefits and pleasures he's brought into our life over at the fire department. This young man here came to us 27 years ago. If everybody was as dedicated and kind-hearted as this young man was, we wouldn't any of us have anything to worry about. His professionalism, his detail, paying attention to the detail that he does in his job on a daily basis. His dedication to the public is just not, I don't have that many words to say like I said earlier, but he's just such a fine Christian young man, good-hearted soul, and he is really a true brother in service. He and I it's just a pleasure to come in every morning and see him, because he doesn't come in no less with a smile on his face and something cheerful to say to somebody. And his laughter is just like a uplift in your heart. And this is the reason that he's the Firefighter of the Year. His peers and his supervisors chose him. So I want to present to you Captain Terrence Dupree.
Thank you. Work your way through there and get back this month. I know council appreciates it.
Congratulations.
Correct. Terrence. We want to.
Want to get your picture?
All right, Chief Rourke, you and Mr. Conyers. There you are.
Yes.
How about that?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you all for allowing us to come in this evening to honor and recognize Officer Charles Conyers, who is this year's Officer of the Year for the city of Sumter. Charles is a 11-year veteran of the Sumter Police Department. He's also a veteran of the United States Army. I believe his last rank was a captain in the Army National Guard. Charles is a type of person that has a type of personality that can diffuse most things. We talk about de-escalation in our world and doing de-escalation training. And we use a word that when we meet all of our new officers, every time we hire someone, we talk about a skill that is very important for us as police officers and public servants, which is empathy. He demonstrates empathy every day. We're dealing with many situations. He's also served as a school resource officer. I would call to your attention an event that took place on July the 28th, 2020. While on duty at a local restaurant, Charles was getting ready to exit his vehicle to pick up lunch for he and another officer when he noticed a service member from the United States Air Force approaching his vehicle from the rear while checking the mirrors before he got out. And he noticed that the service member didn't have a hat on. And for those of us who've served in the military or have been around the military as much as we have, when you see a service member in public walking to a building with no hat on or headgear, it calls you to draw the attention. The young man walked up to Charles's car, and Charles rolled down the window just far enough to communicate with him. And the young man asked him, "If I came at you with a knife, would you shoot me?" And then the young man presented a knife and was holding it near the front of his body and his chest area towards his neck, and told Charles that he was involved in a lot of stress. There's a lot of things going on in his life. And he wanted to end his life. He wanted Charles to end his life for him. Officer Conyers remained very calm. In fact, many of his people that work on shift with him often call him when dealing with situations that calls for calm demeanor. But he remained calm, and using de-escalation techniques was to begin to talk to the young man. And as he talked to him, for what I know seemed to be an eternity, when you're at a total disadvantage of being in a car when someone's right at your window with a knife, who's apparently in a psychosis issue, he was able to calm him down, de-escalate him, talk with him, got him to where he would step back, and he dropped the knife, and he got out of the vehicle and sought medical treatment for this young man to be committed to be treated for a psychosis issue. He also followed through the young man's chain of command to check on him later and to make sure he was okay. So of all the things that we've seen nationally about law enforcement and community over the last 4 to 5 years, Charles serves as a testament of what good training, applying good training, utilizing empathy, keen awareness of his surroundings, but his ability to humanize a tragic situation with someone that obviously weren't themselves. So we're very proud to present to you Officer Charles Conyers as our Officer of the Year. and look for him to stay with us many more years to serve with us.
Here's a certificate of appreciation. All right. Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Thank you, chiefs. Moving, we have a public hearing at 6 o'clock. That'll be in about 20 minutes, so we'll continue on through. Moving into old business, we've got boards and commissions. I know I've spoken with some of you. They've dropped some names. There's some new names in the list of volunteers, those that would like to serve. If you got anybody that you've been thinking about or talking to, let's get those submitted. Let's communicate to me. We're close, and I think we're going to be able to fill some of these vacancies at our next meeting. So anybody's got anybody out there, please let me know. All right, moving into our new business, we have a lease purchase. It's to consider a first reading, authorizing execution, delivery, and performance of lease purchase agreements and other documents relating to financing of certain vehicles, equipments. Is that you, Mr. McCormick?
I've got it.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, as you remember, each year we, in the passing of your budget, you authorize this, and then later in the year, as we are now in the fiscal year, we'll actually go after the financing. So a lot of this equipment's been ordered. We have the ability to reimburse ourselves once the financing is in place. So that's what we have for you tonight. The Exhibit A is the particular equipment, and that is a pumper truck with all the equipment on it, which is for the fire department, 2 knuckle boom loaders, which picks up lemon leaf for sanitation, a front loader commercial garbage truck, and a combination sewer cleaner truck. It gets used all the time, not only in sewer, but in stormwater. So those were approved in your budget at that time, and we knew it would be for this financing, which is a short-term financing, as you're aware, that we do each and every year. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is there any questions of Mr. McCormick?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCormick, I noticed that we are leasing these not to exceed 5 years. Is that normal, what we do when it comes to these items?
Yes, sir, 5 to 7 years, because the lease purchases, the way they work, they're low interest rates because the banks that hold the leases are able to depreciate them on their books during that time. But we find it's prudent at that time period because, again, these are very expensive equipment. Usually, we won't have things like pickup trucks or police cars on there, but they're the larger ticket items, and we'll get the usefulness that will outlast that time period. So we don't really want to stretch it too long, but we find that's kind of the sweet spot if we can do it, 5 years.
And we'll go back and lease other equivalent equipment at that time?
So what we'll typically do is we'll have this every year. So some rotate off every year, and we'll add a new year on. And so it's just what we think is an effective, efficient way to do short-term borrowing that doesn't count toward our debt limit. Again, lease purchases, the way they are done, we think they're a prudent way. And now if we just had an excess of cash around, we wouldn't have to do this. But we think it's a prudent way to do short-term financing.
Thank you, Darrell.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. McCormick? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. Mr. Hasty moves, Mr. Lowry seconds, that we approve first reading. Is there any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading carries. All right. Moving in, we have an annexation. First reading for an annexation. Mr. McCormick?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, we have before you a petition located at 230 Cedar Avenue and 856 Weeks Street. It's a piece of property that the owner would like to have city services for what we think will be more homes on that site. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Darren, may I?
Yes, sir.
Darren,
Yes, sir.
can you help us with these pictures the next time?
So we'll say that again.
Some of these pictures, I can't see them.
Oh,
Like this right here, I don't know what that is, but some of us kind of old.
yeah, that one is pretty light. We'll make sure that, yeah, yes, sir. But are you're familiar with that?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir. So again, the request is to access city utilities, and that's why they're asking to annex. We will try to darken those up next time so it's a little more legible. That yellow on yellow paper doesn't come through very well.
Is there a motion?
Move forward.
Mr. Corley moves, Mr. Hasty seconds, that we consider first reading annexation. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading carries. Moving into sale of property, we've got two properties. I guess we'll start with one city-owned property in the town of Maysville.
Mr. Mayor, again, this piece of property is the spray field, roughly 70 acres in Maysville that was acquired at the time we took over the water and sewer. And at this time, we have now tied the sewer back to the city with a project, and it's completed. The spray field, the 70 acres is not needed, and we would like to recommend selling this piece of property if you would like to do so and get it back on the county tax books. And by doing that, we wouldn't have to maintain it anymore, and we really have no need for it whatsoever.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for Mr. Harris? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Davis moves, Mr. Shaw seconds that we approve first reading on the sale of property in the city of town of Maysville. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And first reading carries. Thank you. Then we have a first reading on 4 parcels of city-owned property on B Street. Is that you, Mr. McCormick?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, we've got these pieces of property that are surplus city property that abut a home, and we are asking the authority to transfer that, and again, we're working on the proper deal to go with that. So be happy to answer any questions you might have of this.
Any questions for Mr. McCormick?
These are pretty small lots or pieces of property, if I remember.
Yes, sir, they are. So as we've discussed before, if there's not utility need or if they're not a buildable lot, they really are what we call surplus property. We'd like to get on the tax rolls if at all possible. You're correct.
Thank you.
Because it's on the corner too, the setbacks are such where a primary residence is not even possible on this property.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mr. McCormick, you said transfer, is it transfer or is it sale?
Well, either way, it'll be a transfer, but the details of the sale we'll try to work out before final reading, and
Okay.
I'll have those details to council.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Corley moves, Mr. Hasty seconds that we approve first reading of property on B Street. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And first reading carries. Thank you. Moving down to a property transfer. We have considered first reading of an ordinance authorizing the exchange of the city of Sumter's interest in a certain platted unopened road on South Ginyard. Is that you, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, this is a piece of property that's located south of Liberty Street on Ginyard Drive. It crosses over almost on Ginyard going towards Artillery. It's only a paper street. It's platted, a paper street. And the property owners would like to have that piece of property back. We have no interest in the property. In lieu of giving them the property, the paper street, they will give us right-of-way easements on all of our sewer lines that cross that property coming off of Ginyard going towards Artillery Drive. At the present time, we do not have the proper right-of-ways for those sewers. This will give it to us. It will be recorded, and it's a good swap, giving them the paper street and them giving us the right-of-way easements that we need to have recorded. If you have any other questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Harris? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move for
Yep.
approval.
Move for approval.
Hasty moves, Shaw seconds, that we consider first reading of transferring the property as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? First reading carries. Thank you. Moving into council reports. We've got about 9 minutes until our public hearing, so we'll do council reports. I guess I'll start off wishing a late happy birthday to Mr. Mayor Pro Tem on Saturday. I was out of town, didn't get a chance, but wish you a happy birthday, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. But anyone have any other reports for the good of council or our community? Yes, sir, Mr. Hasty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to mention, my sister passed away of a heart attack 5 years ago. And we started a scholarship in her name. We've given away over $20,000 in her name. This year, we've got, as a speaker, who was one of the scholarship recipients, the kicker, Preston Harvin III, who is the first African-American to receive the Ray Guy Award winner. He's going to be present. He's going to speak for a few minutes. But he's one of the young men that received the scholarship. Years ago, he's going to Georgia Tech, didn't have a whole lot. He had a full scholarship. He had a lot of money to do other stuff with, like buy clothes. So he received $1,000, and he's happy to come back and join us. Jeffrey Lampkin is going to be the host. It's going to be a drive-up rally at Lincoln High School in the parking lot from 12 to 1:30. And Mr. Mayor, with your permission, I would like to share these flyers with the council members.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hasty. Mr. Corley.
Yeah, I was able to attend the first Chamber of Commerce Friday breakfast at the North Hope Center, and apparently that's going to be ongoing. And Lefford Fate presented a challenging report on diversity and inclusion. And he said it's good to bring people to the table, but we need to get to know each other. We need to listen to each other. We need to visit with each other. It's one thing to have people at the table, but some people at the table may not feel included. We need to reach out and be sure that people at the table feel part of the table, of the group. And he challenged us, and there were probably 35, 40 people here. Thank you for putting that on. Chris Hardy and our city manager was there also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Shaw.
Want to let City Council know that you and I attended a Building Industry Associates call this morning and discussed just the building industry in our community. Very good meeting, and I just wanted to pass that on, as well as just congratulate our mayor and his family and his oldest daughter that will be attending Clemson University. She was accepted into Clemson yesterday, and we're all very excited to have a Tiger.
Thank you, sir. Anyone, Ms. Blessing? Hearing no other council reports, we have about 5 minutes till our public hearing. We will be considering first reading to rezone approximately 1.57 acres of land on 1351 Pacala Road. So we'll stand down for approximately 5 minutes. Thank you. Now it is 6 o'clock. I'm showing right at 6 o'clock, and this is for a public hearing for a rezoning. As I mentioned, on approximately, here first reading to rezone approximately 1.57 acres of land located on 1351 Pacala Road from agricultural conservation to general commercial. So rezoning is, a public hearing is different than our comments by the public or citizens. So let me read the guidelines for public hearing. Planning staff presents the request, then council members question staff. The applicant speaks on behalf of the request. Council can question the applicant. City residents in favor of the request address council. City residents opposed to the request address council. If you're a city resident or have a financial interest in the property under discussion, you may speak at this public hearing. Each person meeting the requirements to speak will be given an opportunity to do so. However, you should become repetitious. We reserve the right to call time. A decision may or may not be made at this meeting. However, a decision will be made at a public meeting. Once the public hearing is declared closed, there will be no additional comments from the audience unless called on by council. So that, Ms. Rudman, you present us this rezoning request, please.
Good evening, Helen Rudman for planning staff. RZ 2017 is at 1351 Pocalla Road. You may recall that you recently completed annexation of this tract. This request is being brought forward by Hudson Rogers as an authorized agent. It is to rezone approximately 1.57 acres from agricultural conservation to general commercial. It is on the southeast side of 15 South Pocalla Road, just south of the intersection of Ginyard Drive Parkway and 15 South. The property itself has an area of woods to the north and then one large oak tree to the south. It looks very much like this today. It's not currently developed. This is kind of the street view you get looking kind of to the northeast on the property. It is currently zoned agricultural conservation, but it abuts general commercial to the south, and it is across the street as well, so it is contiguous to general commercial zoning. It is the applicant's intent to use this property to construct a national auto parts retailing store. So in order to develop this property to the most advantageous development standards, they have sought rezoning of this property to general commercial. When we look at rezoning requests, we look at the comprehensive plan designation. In this particular instance, this property is influenced by the priority commercial mixed use area. In particular, these areas are designated to direct future high quality residential and commercial development of a mixed use nature. It is designated for protection against undesirable uses that deal predominantly in outdoor storage, industrial uses, or in like automotive repair type uses. And we look at these areas where design and layout have minimal impact on adjacent uses, and we look at compatibility in terms of landscaping, architecture, et cetera. This property is also influenced by the Highway Corridor Protection District, which also plays into design criteria. Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request. It is in alignment with the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. This property is located on a 5-lane major arterial roadway near a key intersection point, so a high-profile retailer or a high-volume retailer would be appropriate for this location. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Is there any question for staff? Yes, Ms. Hayes.
Isn't there an auto parts store on Highway 15 near there?
Yes, sir, there is.
Okay, near there. And there's,
In fact, it's
show it to us. Pretty close, right?
yes. This is actually agglomeration of auto parts stores is something that the retailing industry does. They tend to co-locate in adjacent places. You see this on Broad Street where you have the 3 auto parts stores, actually 4 auto parts stores in close proximity. It's a fairly common practice, so it's not unusual to see this happen.
Like drugstores, sometimes they're right across
Yes, sir.
the street from one another. Because there's another auto parts store down by McDonald's on up the street.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Is the applicant or representative for the applicant present that would like to speak on behalf of the request?
I'm Hudson Rogers. I'm present. I don't have anything to add to the application. I'm here to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for the applicant? Any last call for that? Sir, will you state your name again, just to be clear?
Hudson Rogers.
Hudson Rogers. Yep. Thank you. Nope. You got one? Nope. No question for us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Is there any city resident in favor of the request would like to speak? Or a resident that, or a person that has a financial interest in the property?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Louis Watkins. I don't have a financial interest in the property, but hopefully with more competition, the prices of these parts will drop, hopefully. And also, it's not really the number of parts places we have, it's the number of mechanics. Since I've been here, since 2005 back here, because I grew up here, I live here, I've had quite a number of problems with the auto mechanics, and the process for complaining or getting some resolutions is not there. So I'm just saying that I think that it's good that we have a number of places we can get parts, but we also need to make sure that the parts are put on properly and without gouging people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Is any other city resident or something would like to speak in favor of the request? Last call for any resident or someone that has a financial interest in favor. Any city resident opposed to the request would like to speak? Anyone opposed to the request? Hearing none, declare the public hearing closed. And would council like to take any action on first reading?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of first reading of RZ 2017.
I second the motion.
Mr. Davis moves, or Blascane seconds, that we approve first reading as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading is approved. Thank you, Ms. Rubin. Mr. Watkins, I have two council members. If you don't mind, if you can step back up, we know who you are. Just state your address. I apologize for that.
I'm at 117 Providence Street.
Thank you, sir.
I don't open my door after 9 o'clock, all right?
Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. All right, going back to our regular agenda, we'll go to our city manager's report. Mr. McCormick, you got anything?
Yes, sir. Just to let Mayor and Council know, we got the January financial in your packet. Take your time, look over that. If you happen to have any questions, feel free to call me at your leisure. I'd be happy to discuss it.
Thank you, sir. Now we moved into our comments by citizens or public comment section. In a spirit of trying to follow our ordinance as it's been written and been on the books, we would like, as some of you did, or as those did, we appreciate signing in. Just help us to keep organized with our citizens that would like to speak. Just like I did with the public hearing, I'll read a few words on the public comment section. To be consistent with our city code, this is an opportunity for citizens of the city who have signed up prior to the meeting to address council on matters with the exception of personnel matters. In the interest of time, comments by any one speaker are limited no more than 3 minutes. Also, to please avoid repetition and to conserve time. We ask that if there are groups, such as a neighborhood group or a citizens committee, who would like to express the same view or advocate for the same position, that you designate a spokesman. Also, that we want to emphasize that in addition to this portion of the agenda, citizens who are not citizens certainly can express their opinions to council members by telephone, email, or other means of contacting us through the city website. So with that being said, we have a Miss Patricia Swisher is signed up. You come to the microphone, ma'am. Right behind you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, is it working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is something I've been thinking about for about a year, and I just wanted to let get my opinion out there. So, and I'm just going to read it so it stays quick. Okay, considering all that's happened in the last year, it's been real difficult to determine what's sound information and what's become like really politicized, where you can't recognize it as good or bad. And fear and panic have been stoked from all directions. So in order to make sense of it all, I sift through information daily because I haven't got anything else to do. The following's based on my experience and my observations as far as the local mask mandate, as far as it just being local. Okay, I think continued mask mandates are misleading and cause fear and anxiety for many people. Some people feel a false sense of security, and others become anxious or afraid of other people who mean them no harm. Because the mask thing, it's kind of contentious. So I think wearing a mask is better served when a person is sick. It will prevent many of the virus germs from becoming airborne from the sick person. Covering your mouth when you cough or sneeze also prevents the bulk of virus germs from becoming airborne. And what I've noticed when I have been out, I go out once or twice a week to the grocery store or to Lowe's or to the hardware store. I haven't heard a person cough or sneeze in public for months. Everybody seems pretty healthy out there. So the most effective methods include staying home when you're sick and you're not feeling well, washing your hands often, and going to the doctor if you're sick, avoiding contact with others, which is social distancing, and staying home when you're sick is also social distancing. So those are a good way not to spread a virus, but washing your hands, maintaining personal hygiene, covering your cough, and just washing your hands is a big one. Looks like I'm running out of time. So I know somebody told me the other day that wearing the mask has nearly eliminated the flu, but that's not true. The flu's still out there somewhere, and it hasn't really had an effect on the COVID virus either. So in an effort to wrap this up, I want to say that the mask mandates are, the intentions are good, but they're not called for, because people are smart enough to take care of themselves and understand the risks. And our parents raised us right, so this just feels like somebody trying to be my parent or our parents.
Yes,
So
ma'am. Hey, thank you. I got it written down here. We appreciate you signing in, but will you state your address again, Ms. Swisher?
Okay. My address is 880 Manchester Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Amanda Cox. We have a Miss Amanda Cox. Ms. Cox, if you'll state your address as well.
Okay, just 1 second. Sorry. 124 North Salem Avenue. Oh, we already started. Okay, I'm going to go real fast.
Thank you.
My name is Amanda Cox, and I have been a Sumter citizen most of my life and a downtown homeowner since 2007. I understand the importance of maintaining a positive public position and stressing the many positive aspects of life in my city. While I've spoken out about problems I see in Sumter, I've done so out of the same sense of civic pride and hope that must have driven you all to seek office. According to the city's own litter prevention website, quote, litter damages our environment, our wildlife, our image, and our quality of life. Litter is a social problem that affects everyone in Sumter. Litter on the roads and highways is a direct result of individual actions, and those actions directly impact our local economy. Litter can also lead to increased crime. It signals to criminals that residents don't care what happens in their neighborhood and makes the area more vulnerable, end quote. I'm here today because I and many others with whom I interact in the public discussion have become quite concerned. The problem of litter is worsening before our eyes, perhaps because of limited public services during COVID-19, or possibly because of misplaced priorities to see us spending millions of dollars of local option sales tax revenue on new things while we fail to take care of the city we have already built. While some of the litter problem may be attributed to the thoughtless actions of a few individuals, there is simply too much trash blowing around and woven into unkempt public rights of way to have been dropped there on purpose. Whether it blows from unsecured dumpsters or vehicles, litter has infected areas that are not particularly pedestrian-friendly, and even road-adjacent wetlands are choked with what we throw away and then forget about. I've responded by personally gearing up and going on a recent series of cleanup expeditions to pick up garbage in problem areas I have found. I hope each of you will join me in finding one of these spots in your home wards, gear up, and pick up litter. Having done so myself, I've come to realize the enormity of the problem and that it's past time to simplify our approach, to move past feel-good campaigns to actually finding ways to physically pick up the garbage, recycle what we can, and dispose of the rest properly, and then to maintain Sumter's public cityscape going forward in a way we can all be proud of. One basic characteristic of litter is that it gets smaller, but it never goes away. Catching it now while it's large and not yet woven into the weeds of vacant lots is easier than it will ever be again. Last week, I picked up and took one of the county's recycling center's large pieces of furniture weighing hundreds of pounds that had been alongside North Salem Avenue for weeks. As soon as the furniture was gone, more appeared, as if the residents think the city disposes of large brown goods like furniture. Can I please continue? Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Please. Large item pickup is the only way Sumter is going to remain free of items that must be taken to the recycling centers, or if it's something as common as an old mattress, straight to the landfill, an experience that is intimidating for the average citizen. This is not a situation that is tenable for non-truck owning citizens, and no tax and fee-paying citizen of Sumter should have to risk damage to her personal vehicle or herself driving into a dangerous area where heavy equipment is pushing around a literal mountain of trash. The problem extends into the county which surrounds the city, and the litter diminishes the very nice work that has gone into the signage and flowers that welcome visitors. Literally entwined with the litter problem is the lack of attention to the condition of areas that seem not to fall into anyone's responsibility. Even in the heart of downtown, streetscapes, vacant lots, and rights-of-way between sidewalks and streets are overgrown and unmowed, with large quantities of leaves blocking storm drains and creating the kinds of drainage problems we've seen crews trying to repair for years. I know the city owns street sweeping equipment. I've seen them once before the Porches event. I also know they couldn't traverse many streets because of cars that seem permanently parked on streets.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Thank you. We appreciate your.
I have to say this because there's a danger to people picking up litter.
We appreciate you. Believe it or not, council is very concerned with that. Councilman Corley.
There's dangers that go along with it that I just want to make public.
Come back next time.
From my personal experience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. You've become repetitive and your time's up, in fairness to the other folks that want to speak. But we appreciate your enthusiasm. We share that. Council does share that. We're exploring other ways, other equipment, just different ideas. Spoke with Councilman Davis today regarding how we continue to fight our litter problem. So thank you for bringing that awareness to us as well. And thank you for your willingness to help make Sumter clean. Thank you. Ms. Elaine Brunson, please.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Cox and the rest of the people who signed the petition for street sweeping services.
Ms. Brunson, thank you. Will you,
My name is Elaine Brunson, and I reside at
Thank you.
203 Council Street. I'm the co-founder of the Sumter Black Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to thank you for your advice at the last meeting where you told everyone to email our grant proposals for CBDG and CARES Act funding. I hope that you guys are considering the needs that we sent to you guys concerning the roughly 150 minority, women, Black, veteran, and other nonprofits that were not able to get assistance from Governor McMaster's minority funding packet. Also, the money that we requested for the startup funding and the revitalization of the Sumter Black Chamber of Commerce's office. Again, I would like to thank you guys for your serious consideration of our request and also for your assistance with the Juneteenth festival. If you guys have any questions about the information that I sent to you about our request for the HUD funding, you can ask me now. Thanks.
thank you, Ms. Brunson. Thank you for speaking. Mr. Lewis Watkins. Mr. Watkins, we know who you are, but if you'll state your name and address again.
Louis Watkins, I live at 117 Providence Street, that's Sumter. I'd like to congratulate the council on the effort to open up and be transparent to the citizen, the public, and I think to encourage more neighborhood associations, block associations, street associations would help with the policies. The young lady who was talking about the garbage, I have experience in helping to organize block associations, street associations, neighborhood associations, and the more we have, the more information you can get that would help to set policies. The sanitation department, I know that they do a very good job on when you call. If you call them, they'll come out. If there's a miscollection or you put garbage out, they have the trucks, they come around to pick up the stuff if it's put out, if they know it's there. So there's no lack of services from the departments that's responsible for picking up the garbage. I think in terms of bringing the garbage together, the people on these streets and these businesses, McDonald's and all these other businesses, should help to encourage the people, because all the wrappings or the garbage, the litter that's out there, it comes from some of these restaurants. So I think it's important that we try to have a community development department. I want to speak to Mr. Gaines about helping to go out and getting people signed up to be a block watcher. All right. But anyway, I'm happy that you're having the public, you're listening to the public and allowing us to do this. I was at another meeting, a legislative body or a government body, where they permanently have eliminated the public comment portion from the agenda. And I know in 1976, Congress passed the open meeting law and the FOIL, the Freedom of Information Act, and every state is supposed to adopt procedures to allow the citizen to have free information or have the freedom to get information and also to attend meetings and be a part of the meetings. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Watkins. We thank you again tonight. For those, just as a reminder, there was a sign up or two that are not city residents, and this public comment was for our city citizens. So we appreciate those that had signed up, and we appreciate the orderly discussion. And Ms. Martin, I've been given information that your address is 5455 Catch-All Road in Dazzle, South Carolina. Ms. Martin, this is an official document with your name and address on there. So this public comment section was for our city residents. Yes, ma'am. There. Council can override and then council can override if you want to hear her talk. She put that down.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, sir, Mr. Corley.
Back to Amanda Cox. Would you please send your extended comments to Linda Hammett, our city clerk, and she can forward it to. Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have come to the end of our agenda. I'm told that we do not need an executive session. Is there a motion to, is there a motion to conclude?
Move for adjournment.
Got a motion by Mr. Hasty, a second by Mr. Corley. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned.